from opening your own restaurant and now having your co-working space business and being able to transform that into something online, something that's profitable online. I find that quite amazing that you're able to adapt instantly to the world of of being digital. So before we get to all your amazing strategies and tactics about business, would you mind telling me first what is your background with business? Do you have relatives, or are your parents entrepreneurs? Where did you get your business savviness?
Thanks very much, Rox. I'm in a family wherein it's actually not business as a focal point of their practice. My dad has a law firm, and that's considered still an organization that is managed and run, but it's totally a different practice and also an industry that is totally different from what I do. My interests that are actually similar to yours. It is pertaining to traveling, fashion, and just basically diversity at its finest, and totally just learning and being more knowledgeable through experiences. So I think that's the one that really made me feel that I belong to the right space, which is in the business side of things, commercial side.
Growth happens when you push yourself outside boundaries.
Correct.
And when I say boundaries, I talk about, let's say, just your location,
Yeah.
um, your knowledge with what our culture is. Of course, you'd want to explore other cultures as well. That I know you opened up a restaurant that served Dutch food. Was that your first major investment?
Correct.
And
So basically, right after college, I came back to the Philippines. I was finishing my studies in Michigan in the US, as you know, working specifically in Manila to really introduce more exciting things and some gaps in the market that
yeah,
aren't here yet. At the same time, could have much potential based on other geographical locations. Of
right.
course, I need to marry that with the specific culture and interest of the demographics here in the Philippines. But
Right.
at the end of the day, if you get those perfect recipe, you're able to come up with an exciting concept at yet profitable one. So that was the concept behind Van Marley's, my Dutch cafe joint, which was located in Katipunan, Quezon City. We lasted 3 years. We had an ROI, I think 18 months prior to our opening because of
Right.
practicing as from the very beginning. That was 2010. I had a belief already of sustainable, lean, small businesses.
So when you talk about sustainable, because I love that word, and hopefully the whole generation will be gearing towards
Yes.
sustainability. How did you apply sustainability in the restaurant?
In restaurants, I think it's a very challenging segment. The F&B is a very challenging industry wherein it has to be adapting fast because there are emerging concepts and also competition around the market, and also it is not as easy to branch out, especially if you don't have an established brand, a small medium enterprise type of business. Which I belong to that, and I've been consistently being in that type of business size. More of about learning your margins and also trying to figure out how you can improve gradually and growing.
Because especially in Philippine culture, we all eating here is a sport. In the Philippines, we love to eat, and
Correct.
it's a choice of, okay, what are we going to order, where are we going to eat. It's always eating. I feel like it brings us all together, and we just love to eat. Filipinos love to eat. What would be your top three tips to open a restaurant? And do you think it's advisable to have a physical shop, or should they just purely go online, market their brand, market their food? Should they send out free samples? I mean, how do you go about starting an F&B business?
Yeah. Okay. That's a very good question. It's basically too broad to really specify
Yeah.
for each category, but in general sense, let's say McDonald's is a very established franchise. But again, if you compare apples to apples, comparing a McDonald's in, let's say, an area that has a lot of foot traffic and very, very, passable in access points, of course, it will be more profitable compared to a McDonald's that is in a remote area. So I'm just simply saying a case in point wherein location is king when it comes to the brick and mortar, and it's specifically in restaurants.
I think we've heard that all the location, location, location.
Yeah, of course, diba? That's why it's always price per square meter for real estate, always more expensive when it's in the CBD or anywhere else in the world. Because it makes sense because of the foot traffic and the demand that you have as a captured market. So I think that has a very vital role to be successful in putting up one. The other one is actually now that everyone related to pandemic is a very important tool, such as e-commerce, which I actually am at the moment now in that circle in the IT field. Um, Simply because e-commerce produces a lot of growth and at the same time sales revenue channels that you don't really have to spend much or not even spend at all. In decades ago, that's not possible.
Possible, yeah.
Exactly. That is the reason why I really encourage this generation. It's a learning process, as I told you. I really get it from a book that is outdated. I do try to blend it with the actual, but at the end of the day, it's really the experience that you have to learn. So it's a good balance, but at the end of the day, it's the experience that matters because that's the actual one, right?
I feel like we're writing our own story as well because no, this pandemic has never happened, and so we're all
Correct.
faced with this
Correct.
situation that has never happened. So I don't think you can
Exactly.
get this content from a book. So it's pretty awesome.
Actually, the youngsters
But
these days, even younger than us, are actually the ones adapting obviously faster. And that means that's an advantage for them because no matter how many experience you have now from the past generations, you cannot compare it to anything else. Because one, there was a pandemic before, but there was not technology. So you really, it's totally a different situation. And whatever we can do now, I think collaboration is the perfect way to boost growth.
am I gonna find you on your TikTok channel, account?
Maybe you. I'm not as progressive at that point pa. But yes, I'm using social media as a tool for us to increase productivity and work at the moment. But yes, TikTok is something that I have to explore to increase productivity on my marketing.
So you were saying that the younger generation should take advantage of technology in pushing their F&B products or their F&B brand.
There's a lot of micro businesses that are starting from Instagram, Marketplace, and Facebook, and other private groups that are within proximity of the area, since of course we need to deliver it still and not whatnot. But at the end of the day, these platforms create an avenue for you to actually minimize your costs or not even spend a buck. So it's all about maximizing these free platforms and channels to be able to at least allot funds for greater or bigger plans.
Right. So would you say that a lot of these online F&Bs would highly depend on their marketing because they can't their potential clients cannot visit them.
Correct.
So then, would you think that would pave way for new jobs such as food photography or yeah, digital content
Actually,
creators?
your job right now is basically the not up and coming. It's been there for a while, but has been magnified as a very important tool for brands to actually be pushed. Because at the end of the day, everyone's on YouTube, everyone's on Instagram. Not no one is in Sky Cable anymore as well. You know what I'm trying to say, right? Like everything's digital, so it's very personalized.
Right.
So there are so many tools to really there's so many tools that I can mention, but it will go a long time. But we're talking about tools such as hyper personalization. It's basically improving the customer journey of people who are trying to purchase online. So those are stuff that really needs to be looked into and utilized by our generation, even the older and younger ones, to at least survive the pandemic situation or at least move forward with what the digital age has to offer and use
Right.
it the right way.
So bottom line for number two is maximize the digital world. They don't have to have a physical restaurant.
Correct. You
Um,
have to adapt, right?
right.
Yeah.
Okay, and then the third. The third tip that you can give our future
The third
restaurateurs.
tip is the continuation of the second one, which is once you have established and maximized your whole e-commerce, whether it's free or just a minimal, fees, then you can already say that the proof of concept has been established. From there, you can definitely pursue your passion if you're really leaning towards the business model of your F&B to have a physical aspect where in the retail side, which is having sit in the physical restaurant with all the design and presentations and stuff.
Yeah,
But
so
with the pandemic, everyone's trying to be creative in a way, but still trying to moderate or manage their operating expenses. So that's
so
the reason why.
I mean, aside from let's say they can't afford to hire a digital content creator, do you think it would be a good idea for them to send out free samples of their food to,
Sure,
let's say, these major influencers, and then
of course.
have them vlog or blog
That's
about
part
it?
of marketing. So definitely
Right.
yes. Those are the budget that I said. If you cannot obviously have everything for free, those are the things that you should prioritize allotting funds for, because this is the type of marketing that I at least would spread faster and has a validation that it really is good and all that stuff.
Some of these influencers charge to kind of post something, but let's
Correct.
say they're sending it out for free. Do these major influencers still charge, or will they be happy to receive something for free and post it?
You know what? I have a lot of friends who became influencers, really like million followers, stuff like that. You have to prioritize kasi your goals for your vlog and for your an influencer. What does that mean? Obviously, if your schedule is around the clock, 24 hours, you're not working, obviously you have to sleep. Then you have to prioritize the projects and also the content that you're reviewing. So obviously, whatever comes in first na revenue generating is a priority. Unfortunately, that's how the world works. But go back, if you have time to really help these small medium enterprises, micro businesses, because you knew where how to start, it's really hard, right? So obviously, if you know that in mindset and you're very grateful for that, then of course you will also relate to these people who are trying to build their brands. So
Right.
it's a very it really depends.
Help when you can, but of course they still need to eat at the end of the day, so
Yes,
maybe choose the people you decide to charge.
that's
Okay, in a nutshell, this is the most exciting part. Can you tell me about Sharvd? And I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly.
yeah, you pronounce it perfectly. The concept was brought in when I was studying my postgraduate masters in Amsterdam. I saw an influx of different concepts that really blown me away at that time, and
What
I
year would this be? Sorry.
2014.
Okay.
I was 2 years of studying, also checking out concepts and partnerships for a potential outsourcing that I wanted. I did a thesis out of incubator of helping startups create an avenue for them to boost their operations, growing but not too much intensive of capital.
Right.
So that's where co-working came to place. And we had different services that were plugged in. Obviously, I told you my family has a law firm. So the first top of mind was obviously hooking up the law firm because they cannot market, law firms here in the Philippines cannot market themselves. That's unethical. So they use Sharp as a vehicle for other services relevant to startups. So
Wow.
what are these? Business registration, protecting your brand, so patents, trademarks, copyrights, and those stuff of basically setting up your business, complying the right process, and just giving them an assistance for that. So from there, I had a lot of different ideas, and at the end of the day, we started at 2018, and now it's our third year. Um,
Congratulations.
Thank you. April pa. But we're slow. Before the pandemic, we're very fortunate because we are freaks of the future. That's what I want to call us. So
I
we're
love it.
yeah, we're freaks of the future, and always I told you, if you have a mindset, whatever business concept that goes along with your mindset will always flourish because you believe in it. Talaga. So there, from Sharp being a co-working space for 3 years, we have reached the maximum occupancy last year. We are expanding slowly downstairs in the same area in Sauceda Village. And at the same time, before the pandemic, we were fortunate that we were really leaning towards the future, how people work in the future, and that's digital
In terms of co-working space,
in
just
general.
okay,
In general,
right,
how do they work? So in the
right,
future, the stepping stone was being lean. You don't need to have a big office space to operate in small business.
right, right,
So slowly co-working, that's co-working at its essence, sharing utilities, sharing work, sharing network, etc. But beyond the physical aspect, we were thinking of what is the future work like? So it's pretty much going back to our principle of lean, sustainable management in business,
right,
which is outsourcing.
right,
So outsourcing has been our core. My thesis was about co-working and outsourcing, and this
right.
is where the future was leading towards. And before the pandemic, we established our virtual office, virtual assistants.
And
Correct.
is that how you were able to transform something so physical, like a physical co-working space, into something that is everything digital, everything online based?
Actually, it goes hand in hand with it's a long story. There is an outsourcing company that I have a partnership with in the Netherlands now.
Okay.
That kind of grew from Sharvd as a vehicle for me to shift just solely for outsourcing. So that goes hand in hand with this outsourcing company I have in Holland. So
Okay.
that one focuses just like in IT lang talaga.
Okay,
So
IT. So you're
yeah,
seeing, let's say websites, virtual
we,
assistants. I mean,
we used to do that in my outsourcing with Netherlands, but basically we bring in e-commerce platforms, IT solutions here in the Philippines to help Philippine organizations optimize their
growth.
business. A lot of pressure, but as just to put it into context, we don't. So my company that is tied up also with Sharp in a way that we also foster virtual services, but in this outsourcing, I told you, with partnership with Holland, it's called intelligent sales. Basically focuses on bringing in solutions in the Philippines. So what does this mean? We are the sales and marketing arm of these companies to be able to bring in here in the market as a sole distributor.
Right.
So what I do is the outsourcing definition here is not. I know what you're trying to say, because that's really the usual outsourcing in the Philippines, wherein we have ITs developing stuff like that. That's a different type of outsourcing. We're talking about outsourcing goods that are established in different regions that we're
Wow.
introducing here because we are lagging behind technology. So
Yeah, right.
yes,
Even
that's
our internet, aka,
yes.
it's not that
To begin with, right?
excellent.
The infrastructure is a good time to have a basic example. But yeah,
Is starting a business as easy or as hard as running it? And how do we make sure that that business will still be there even once we start to get the ball rolling? We put up the brand, we put up the product, but to make sure that it stays in the market for the next, let's say, 3 years, 5 years, or 10 years, and
yes,
so on.
yes,
How do we start it and make sure that as we continue the journey of that business, the integrity stays there?
correct. Okay, very good that you pointed it out, Rox. That's actually goes back to my point of you asked me about sustainability, right? That is actually hand in hand with what you said. So putting up a business is totally way easier than managing it, obviously, because the excitement is there, the new concepts really ignites you to move forward and keep the ball rolling. But managing is a different story because you're not in honeymoon stage anymore. What does that mean? That means through thick and thin, you have to really stick to to the goals that you want to achieve, or else the your goals will be derailed, and obviously that will reflect on your operations and your business. So that being said, I really think that the only key solution, because we're not gods. We cannot predict the future, right? The only thing that we can do is be equipped and be ready for what's going ahead of us. So these days, the only way to really be prepared is to have a mindset that is very agile, very responsive to what the market needs. And we all know that the market's needs always changes. So that's the time that you always have to remodel your business. And that's the only way you can really sustain it.
So would
Yeah.
you say that after you plan, okay, this is what we're going to do for the next week, next month, someone or the CEO is already thinking, okay, we're planning for the months, but we should plan for the next year and so forth.
You should plan for the what is not in trend, but what is up and coming that we need to fill in the gap in the market. What types of products or tools or even any concepts that you need to be able to have a USP or something that you can bring to the market that they know that they need it.
Particularly those people who are also previously employed and they don't know how to start a business as well. They don't have a background in business. They're not entrepreneurs, but they would like to sell something somehow online because that's going to be their way of feeding themselves.
Free digital marketing, okay? Digital marketing, knowledgeable manpower, but at least lean pa rin. No rentals. So obviously you do that remotely.
Right.
Exhaust your network. So meaning if you need to get some listings from or acquire some LinkedIn or Facebook ads for your demographics as data collection, so be it. So that's already four. And then most importantly, obviously, a website. Facebook could be a stepping stone for sure, but at the end of the day, you want your own URL. So
Okay. Right. So to come to a closure, thank you so much, Nachi, again
well,
for spending time with me.
sure.
And what would your advice be for those who are graduating from business school?
First and foremost, I think your mindset is really okay to be. You can conquer the world. I'm in a business major, etc. I was there, but I just need to give you a caveat for all those people to just get your feet wet muna. It's not as glamorous as it may sound. You will need to climb a lot of ropes to be able to reach a point that you know that this is the thing for you. So try and try, and then as long as you keep your eyes on the prize, I think you'll be well. And remember, the business major is actually for me the most versatile type of major that you could possibly have in a university. So you started at the right at least you started the right field.
Nachi, thank you so much for your time.
You're very much welcome and
Thanks, Nach.
take care.
Have a good day.
You
Bye.
too. Have a good one. Bye.